They've been digging up the road here. That's interesting and scary. They've been digging up the road twice. I don't really know why people do that. Dig up the road once, put in the cables that you want, and then close the road again. Sometimes it's just weird. I wanted to bring this whole Vimeo chapter to a bit of a close after having had a really nice discussion with this man called Dan the man at Vimeo. And apparently he was a supervisor in the Trust and Safety department, and it took a few days for him to respond, but once he did respond, we had a really good back and forth and exchanged a lot of useful information. I'm trying to compile that into an article. You know what it's like, sometimes time is just running away from me. But I have figured out what is actually possible with a Plus account, even behind the paywall that is Patreon. So they quite clearly class anything that is commercial as something that you sell behind a paywall. So exclusive access to stuff on Patreon that no one else gets access to, that's classed as commercial content, and that's what you need a pro account for. So if I were to make a message saying, hey Dan, thank you so much for signing up, and this is something that is not public on my channel, is not public, that's on YouTube, not public anywhere, that's just available to Patreons, that is classed as commercial content. And I can kind of see where they're coming from. So this is something that you can also do with anything that you only make available to people behind a paywall. That's all classed as commercial. So I said, well, then how does early access fit into that? If you're making a video that you do not intend to sell, but you're currently working on, and you give your Patreon supporters early access to a work in progress that's gradually kind of evolving, you know, perhaps a rough cut at first, and then a couple of iterations, and then finally the final version, which is then also available to people on YouTube. How is that? I mean, technically that is classed, that is an exclusivity for a certain amount of time. And he says, no, actually that is a little bit different. I think those were his exact words there. That's a little bit different. So that is possible with a Plus account. And I thought that was kind of refreshing to hear that. You don't need to use anything else for that. And you know, that's interesting to hear. So something that remains to be exclusive on Patreon, that cannot be done with the Plus account, but something that you eventually intend to release to the public, that is okay to do on a Plus account for that amount of time as you're working on it. Now then, the other thing about commercial videos, and I thought that's also very interesting, is that what happens if you do make commercial content for someone else, like say for YouTube or for one of your clients, can you put that on Vimeo? Technically no, without the Pro account, so with the Plus account, that's not quite allowed, unless, and here's the thing, you make that video public on Vimeo. So if you make it public, that's okay. And if you do not add soliciting donation URLs at the bottom, so you can't add something like support me on Patreon, that's not allowed. You mustn't do that. Or you support me via PayPal, or buy an Amazon product via my affiliate link. You can't do that. You have to make the video public, and those types of messages or those types of links mustn't be in the description. So that's something else that I've learned through this whole experience, that their system trawls metadata because it's easier to sift through than video data. And that is how sometimes these warning messages are also generated. So it's not actually the connection that you make when you connect Patreon to Vimeo. That doesn't actually affect your Vimeo account standing, even though it would be fairly easy to hook into that mechanism and see who's done that and who really should pay for a Pro account. Thank you for everyone who can stop here at that zebra crossing that quite clearly has two people waiting here. Crazy stuff. Traffic in Miami, not so much fun. So yes, that is the system does that. It trawls through metadata, and it can easily figure out, is this a URL that is going to Patreon or not? And that is what flags these warnings up, that some people are just, you know, flagged who have a Plus account, who don't have a Plus account, who don't have a Pro account, and then, you know, their account gets suspended. So that's how that system works. Very interesting. So yes, paywall content definitely needs a pro account. Early access apparently does not. That's interesting to know. And commercial videos, if you have them on a Plus account, they must be public and there mustn't be any soliciting donation URLs in the metadata. That's good to know. Then my next question was, of course, so how about my cancer videos? They are personal in nature. They're not professional, that they're not anything that I want to share with anyone. Under these rules, do all my videos have to be public and all that if I do make commercial videos? He says no, for something personal you can indeed leave that private, not a problem at all. So it really depends on who you speak to, because Rohit didn't even look at that question or didn't understand it, didn't want to make a judgment or didn't want to make a comment on that, or he just didn't understand the question, because his message quite clearly was, hey, if you do have as much as one commercial video on your whole channel, everything needs to be public, and that's that. There's no exceptions to that. But according to Dan, who obviously knows a lot more about this, he says actually if you have personal videos, just leave them personal, just leave them private, not a problem. And the commercial videos that you have, do make them public. You must make them public, and then you're okay with a Plus account. So it really is about who you speak to and hopefully getting through to the right person there. So yeah, Dan, highly recommend Dan. I said to him, well, I'm still on the fence about the Pro plan. I do like the idea. I must admit, I do like the idea, but it's just, is it really necessary and all that? So I'm toying with the idea of going pro, staying pro. So he did something else that was very nice actually. He said, look, I'm going to revert you back to the Plus account. I'm going to go and refund your Pro account money, and I'm also going to give you a 15% discount should you wish to join the Pro plan. So it's now up to me. I can make those changes that we've discussed, and then I can either remain Plus or I can go Pro. He says as a kind of an interim thing of me doing this reversion, you will probably get an email that says, hey man, you need to upgrade to Pro. Disregard that, that's okay. You can totally do that, and then you'll be Plus again, and just make your changes and then you'll be fine. And I thought, hey, that's really nice. So now I get a 15% off a Pro subscription if I wanted it. 2 days later, sadly, the system flagged me again for being Pro, for not being Pro, for being only Plus, and for having commercial videos. And I now have another deadline, which I believe runs out next week. So it is, automatic systems and bots and all that. They're sometimes less helpful than we think. But yes, that's essentially where I am right now. I'm Plus again. Everything is private, and I either need to make some changes to my commercial type videos, either delete them or just adjust the metadata in there, and then remain Plus, or bite the bullet and go Pro. 15% discount will make that easier. I did ask him for 30% or for more, and he says, I'm afraid we are a commercial enterprise and we are not funded by advertising, so I can't make that concession, but 15% is possible, so that's very nice. So I'm either going to do that or I'm going to remain Plus, and I'll have quite a bit of work in regards to metadata to do, and I have about a week to do that, so I'm not entirely sure what I'll do yet. I think I'll go Plus, I'll go Pro and just remain there, and it's just another thing I'm going to have to pay, and then I won't be bugged anymore, and I can do anything and everything with my Pro account on Vimeo, including perhaps making Patreon only videos, or perhaps selling some courses, or whatever it is that I might end up doing. Who knows where the future takes me. But yeah, that's it for now. And I thought that was a nice peaceful resolution to the whole being blackmailed by Vimeo scam. And I thought I wanted to share this with you. So not such a bad company after all, but it really does depend who you speak to.